Hey, hockey fans, T-Boss is 13-3 here with another top shelf guest, Laval, Wisconsin native, former Farmington State University Ram, longtime junior hockey coach, John Vaillancourt. This episode is sponsored by Riverside Bike and Skate and Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. Mogi.
Hey, we are here in my basement studio with John. He was gracious enough to make the drive up from Tomah, Wisconsin, where he's getting things ready for his Wisconsin Woodsmen, their inaugural season in the NA3. So we're excited to have you here, John. Thanks for coming.
No, thank you for having me. It's exciting to be here. The beautiful view here of the lake, so good place to have a cup of coffee and talk hockey.
Absolutely. That's the way to good way to start a morning.
There you go. Absolutely.
Let's talk about where you're at now. Talk about the NAHL 3, Tomah, Wisconsin. How did a team end up in Tomah, Wisconsin, and how did you end up there?
Yeah, no, it all came by surprise. So I was coaching last year in the NCDC, which is a Tier 2 league as well. And so Ryan Egan gave me a call. Like, we have a mutual friend who I had spoken to about possibly making a move from there with me having a second child. My wife and I were talking about coming back possibly to this era. We coached here. I coached in lacrosse, Wisconsin years ago in the NA3. That's where my first head coaching job was. And we really liked the area. So we'd always kind of talked about possibly coming back to Wisconsin to kind of settle our family down and raise our kids. And with me having a second child, it usually takes a whole farm to raise kids. We wanted to possibly come back out this way if we could, just to have help with raising my son. So yeah, Ryan Egan ended up giving me a call. I didn't know he was one of the owners at the time, and I have a long history with him because he was obviously the NA coach at the time when I was coaching the NA3 team underneath him. And I was able to get a lot of experience with him, obviously learning about not only being a head coach and GM, because it was my first time doing that in lacrosse, but also like I was scouting for him and just kind of like what to look for players in the North American level. And I learned a lot from him. I was very fortunate to have his guidance. So he called me, kind of told me a little about what they were doing, what their expectations are, and what they wanted to do with hockey here locally. To my wife, she said, let's go. She was very excited about it. But I told him at the time that I had to finish the season with my group, finish getting those guys coming to college, and then we would have the conversation. But it wasn't a terribly hard decision to make at the end of the day. It's really good for me and my family right now. I'm about 40 minutes from my folks and our farm where I grew up. So yeah, and that's how I came to be there pretty much by that means. And then this team is a relocation of the New Ulm Steel, which was based in Minnesota, obviously. So they bought that franchise. They relocated to Tomah, Wisconsin. So that's how that came into existence as far as the transfer teams go.
So are they affiliated with the Chippewa Steel still then?
No, so we don't have a direct affiliation. We are going up there on the 30th to play them. So we do have a connection, obviously, with that program. And then Chris Ratzloff just got named the new head coach, and I coached his kid my first 2 years actually in the NA3. So I'm really excited for him. I think he's overdue for that opportunity. So we do have a little bit of relation there. Obviously, me personally knowing him, but from a program side, there's a little bit of relationship still. But there's no direct affiliation. I mean, we have a lot of different partnerships kind of set up right now in North America, which is exciting, I think, for our players. So we have a lot of different avenues to go. But that's going to be a closer relationship for us, obviously, being only an hour and a half away.
Sure.
Go ahead, Mo.
So my initial thing when I was looking at your journey, which has been very epic, I would say.
A lot of time in the car driving.
Yeah, you're a Laval, Wisconsin guy. You go to school in Reedsburg High School. You go play for the Capitals in Madison. You end up at Framingham out in Massachusetts, for crying out loud. And you've had a couple of coaching positions here and there, and then what do you know? You end up here in Tomah, which, like you said, is 40 minutes away. So quite a journey, and we're hope you're home for a long time. Yeah,
no, and that's our hope too. I plan to be settled down here for quite a bit for my kids to grow up, and that's ultimately the goal of it. I'm really fortunate. I'm one of six. I grew up on a farm here in Laval, Wisconsin. So I was really fortunate, obviously, with my background and my passion of hockey, to get a chance to play high school hockey in Reedsburg and have a great experience there. My senior year, my twin brother and I ended up leaving to go play for the Madison Capitals. Bob Suter was the coach at the time, and so I always say, the funny thing when we went there, and I don't think I was a very good hockey player, but he must have saw something I didn't at the time. So he took a chance on us, and it was a great experience for me. It opened up a lot of doors for me as far as pursuing junior hockey and learning that industry for sure. He used to give me and my brother a really hard time because we would always get there early, and we actually broke his bubble hockey machine like 2 or 3 times. So we're kind of pretty intense when it comes to it. So we got banned to playing that maybe the 3rd time after breaking it. But yeah, I know, again, like the UW guys they would skate before us. So to kind of rub shoulders with them was a wonderful experience. And what he's done, obviously established, and what his son has continued to establish in Wisconsin with the Mazda Cowboys, especially the USHL program, I think is a true testament to his legacy and his belief as far as growing the game of hockey and empowering young men to make something out of it.
So you end up going to Framingham after you're done with the Capitals, and your brother Charles. I know we're talking to you, but
Sure.
What happened to Charles?
No, so after we played there, we actually ended up both going and playing junior hockey in Virginia Beach with the new junior program that started. So we spent 2 years there. We actually went undefeated and won a championship our first year. The second year, we were called the Road Whalers. We played like 90-some games, and we had a 19-game road trip in like 14 days or 17, so we went through the Midwest. And that was an incredible experience for me because we were junior independent. So we played against a Q team. We played against a OJ team. We played against some NAHL teams. So we played in all these different leagues that year, and it's a very unique experience and some amazing friendships I still carry today, obviously, with that. So after my 2 years of junior hockey there, I ended up at Framingham State University. And we played, my twin brother and I played juniors together, and we played college together throughout that whole experience. And that was I'm pretty fortunate. That's very special, and it's a unique experience. I know most can't say, but so it was awesome to have him there with me along the ride the whole time. We had a lot of different opportunities for school. We ended up going to Framingham State because they gave us the most money. So that was the ultimate decision there.
Makes sense.
That was going to be one of our questions.
But yeah, obviously there were some opportunities to come back to the Midwest too, but like to be in a hotbed of hockey too. I had aspiration of playing pro one day still. So so again, I'm fortunate for my opportunity there. I had 4 amazing years at Framingham State. I was a captain my senior year. After that, I was able to pursue pro hockey a little bit. I got a chance in the East Coast League with Elmira. I always joke I got a cup of coffee there, and I almost got a chance to control coffee. I enjoy that cup of coffee. And then the NHL lockout happened, and obviously once it happened, they sent us down to the Fed. And then I didn't stay after that. I went off. Originally, I was just going to go train, and when the lockout ended, I was going to try to get back into pro, like go over to Europe. I happened to be fortunate at the time that the owner of the junior program, who we have a relationship with, obviously, because we played juniors there, approached me about coaching, and I decided to give that a run for it. And I've been doing it now 11 years, I guess. So I've been very fortunate. I have really good people along the way. That's with some amazing opportunities.
Cool.
I'm looking at this Framingham University. Did I screw that up in the intro, or did I get that one right?
We'll hear when that episode comes out.
Okay.
I think you said Farmington, but
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Wouldn't be the first time I've heard that.
JC screwed up again. Oh, well, what's new,
wait till
right?
Cappy hears it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about youth and high school days, Reedsburg, Wisconsin.
Sure.
Okay. I haven't been there in a while, but they do have indoor ice there, and you guys co-op with, is it the Dells?
So when I played, we didn't have the co-op. I know now they co-op with the Dells, and I think actually this year it's going to be Dells and Baraboo. They're doing a co-op. So when I played, we didn't co-op with anybody, and I think our biggest rival at the time was Baraboo. But yeah, I mean, Neil Madsen, who I think is still the head coach, I believe, was my coach when I was there. I had 3 good years. I mean, it's funny because I grew up obviously playing in that rink, and I remember back in the day where they didn't have walls in the building. Like we had to get dressed with there's plywood walls, and then snow would be blowing through the cracks. So I remember back in the days where we were doing that. And even Tolman, Wisconsin, I vaguely remember going to play there, but originally it was an outdoor rink, and they had like the metal netting that we played with when I was younger. So yeah, it's amazing that the community has come a long way with the hockey facility for sure. And I think they're actually putting a new building addition next door, like a sports complex next door. So that'll be exciting. But I always try when I ever came back to visit, more so in college, because I didn't really get a chance to come back when I was playing juniors. I would go and stop in there, usually around Christmas time, just to help out. I know one time I went and helped, and one time I came back when I was playing when I was in college, because my sister's family is in Baraboo, and she was getting her nieces in the hockey. So I went there and helped run a practice for them once, just to help out. So I always stop in just to kind of take a look at some good memories. But yeah, no, I had a great experience there. Like, there obviously was no ice during the summertime. So we had like a select team that was put together by a couple of parents. So we played bunch of summer showcases. So I was really fortunate to do that. But I mean, for the most part, I played soccer during high school. I was in the marching band. I was kind of doing a lot of different things besides hockey. Hockey ended up being the one thing that was my biggest passion that I stuck with, I suppose.
Do you think it's a good thing for kids to stay involved in other things besides hockey while they're growing up? Yeah,
I mean, and people can have different opinion on this, but I think it's extremely important, especially for young athletes, to play multiple sports and to have multiple activities to focus on. Not only from like a functionality standpoint, like I think it's really good for young athletes, to get off the ice and do something else. But I think just mentally now, it's good to kind of take a break from the game and be able to, like have some other passions you focus on to get yourself away from the game. Especially like once you get out of youth hockey into the junior hockey, it becomes business. So even for my guys this year, like we really encourage them to take like courses when they're with us, take some college prep courses. Because it gets them away from what they're doing at the rink. It's something a little bit of a distraction. It's also really good for them as far as the landscape now because of college hockey to do that. But I think it's important for athletes, and I tell guys that play for me, like when the season's done, like 2 or 3 weeks, don't do anything with hockey. Go play golf, enjoy time with your family, like get away from it because like I think guys, and I didn't take this advice when I was young. During the summertime, I would train hard 24/7, but I just thought I was really bad. So I need to catch up to everybody. But I would go back to Virginia Beach when I trained after playing junior. So I was in a great setting. So like on Saturdays I would go to the beach and I had a strength coach I worked with. We did workouts on the beach there, obviously. So like I had different avenues to kind of still enjoy my summers while working at the same time. But yeah, I think it's extremely important for young athletes to play multiple sports, especially when they're young, and have different activities. Because again, like it might be your passion, but it might not be your calling necessarily in life. Sure. But I think it's just good for young athletes. I'm a big proponent of it.
You got to be one of the few that have come out of Reedsburg High School that has gone on to either juniors and or college.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I don't know off the top of my head. I know Mike Lennon, obviously, who's coaching Dubuque here for Division III, coached in Northland. I think he played a little bit of juniors in college. But there hasn't been a ton of kids, I don't think, that have come out of that high school program, at least not off the top of my head. But again, I've been really fortunate. I mean, I was fortunate to have really good parents that really highly encouraged me to pursue my own dreams, and gave me the means to do it. And I was really fortunate to have, I think good people around me through the process. I mean, I think hockey is the only industry where like you can't do it alone. Like your skill and ability can only take you so far. Like you need good people to help you along the process. Whether it's coaches or mentors. So I think I had that. And I always consider Bob Suter to be, a really big mentor for me. Because I think he took a chance on me, and a kid, I don't think I was very good at hockey. So I think he took a big chance on us. And I also think I just learned a lot, I think. And I don't think coaches half the time don't do it on purpose. They're not trying to teach kids life lessons in their time. They're just trying to usually coach kids to the best of their ability and hopefully treat them like good people and make them good people. But I think I learned a lot, especially like when I got into coaching, which I never thought I'd ever get into. I never expected to try to coach hockey. I try to take a lot of lessons that I learned through growing up, especially as, being a guy who was a third and fourth line primarily through my whole career for the most part. I was never the power play guy or anything like that. So I try to take a lot of my own experience, how I was, my relationship with coaches, my experience there, into how I coach and my own coaching philosophy.
So JC and I really appreciate hearing you say that you would like to see kids have multiple experiences growing up instead of choosing hockey and sticking with that. So there are a lot of kids out there who don't take that advice, and their parents don't take that advice. And from what I hear, a lot of it, especially in the off season, let's say before and after, and then during the summer, it's not so much about practice, but it's a lot of tournaments, a lot of this, a lot of that. So
sure.
What's your philosophy on practice to game ratio at the different levels?
you know what? I never coached youth hockey, so this is going to be a really biased opinion, but I really don't care about wins and losing at youth hockey. It's just about kids establishing a love of the game in the kids. That's it. I do think like practice to game ratio, like with our junior program, we try to do a 3 to 4 to 1 ratio as far as practice times goes to game time. And we have our guys on the ice 2 to 3 times a day, and 2 of those are just skill sessions. At the youth level, I know there's a lot more complications to do that. Again, I think like that 3 to 1 ratio is really good in my opinion. And summer hockey, as far as summer hockey goes, at the really young ages, I don't think there's anything wrong with having your kids do like skill camps and whatnot in summer tournaments. But I just think like maybe skating 2 to 3 times a week is plenty, and if you're going to do those skates, like have it be targeted skates, maybe a showcase here and there, a summer tournament. But like at the end of the day, like still like that should just be keeping kids on the ice, let them keep growing in the game, and just establishing a drive and love for the game more than anything else, But I haven't coached youth hockey and my kids haven't gone through it yet. So maybe I'll change my tune when my kids get into youth hockey. I don't think so. But I just want kids to establish a love of the game at a young age. And then, like, if they decide to pursue it, like, if they get to that age where the light switch clicks and, like, I really want to pursue this, then great. You get an opportunity to pursue it, and hopefully you have the means to do it. But I don't think it should be pushed upon young athletes. I think that's a really good way to kind of kill the love of the game for young kids. Because once it gets to the, and even, like, some, you go to Minnesota, especially, like, high school hockey, like, it's the business portion of it becomes really evident really early on. So if a kid really doesn't love coming to the rink every day, and it's something that I talk about with families when I go about recruiting, like, it's really important for us as coaches. Like, we have to establish an environment where kids love to come to the rink and they're just passionate. They love to get after every day because it's just repetitive. You're doing the same process over and over, and it can get, I think I become broken record sometimes with the things I say, which is fine. I had really good advice when I got into coaching from Marty Wolford, who coaches, I believe he's assistant NHL now. He told me, because he's like, you're going to say the same thing from day one to the last day with kids, and just some guys are going to get it, some guys might never get it, but like you just have to be saying the same thing over and over. So yeah, I think at the end of the day, like, let kids love the game of hockey, and if they decide to try to take it somewhere, then that's great, and hopefully like that passion, love of the game is going to do so much more for them to excel them to that next higher level. Than just like constantly being on the ice all summer long. This is my opinion. Again, it might change when my kids get older. I don't think so, but that's probably my 2 cents on it.
Well, I think Mogi and I are kind of nodding our heads.
Yeah, I'm with you. Definitely, yeah.
You talk about Bob Suter saw something in you. Maybe this is coming from Bob Suter or whether it's coming from you. What did he see in you? What did you bring to the table?
Yeah, I don't know. Okay. I remember because we didn't actually go there. Like, we went in, my mom signed me up for that camp, and it wasn't with the expectations of playing there, though. My oldest brother played a little bit with the Capitals too. I don't think Bob was a coach at the time. He also went on to play at Shattuck for a 3 years he played there. So I don't think, when she did that, she had the expectation we were going to make that team by any means. Like, again, like, I was playing primarily, I think, third line at that point in high school hockey. And, I will say, like, one of the things I had going for me and my brother was, like, we were known for being extremely hard workers. Like, we were always going to be the hardest worker on the ice. And that's something my family really pride in that. It'd be like, it didn't matter how good you were or anything like that. Like, you were always going to be the hardest worker no matter what you did. My dad said one day, it didn't matter if you were shoveling a barn or you were playing hockey, like, you should do it to the best of your ability. Really don't like shoveling barns, but had to do that plenty of times growing up. So I don't know. I mean, I think, my mom told me after the fact that what he told her was that we just had a great attitude and that you can't teach that. Yeah. And I think at the end of the day, he was just taking a chance on a couple kids that just loved to be there and would work really hard. And I played 4th line minutes for the Capitals too. So it's not like my role changed dramatically at that point. But I mean, that's kind of what I was my whole hockey career. I think in college, I kind of started figuring it out a little bit. I think I figured out how to play the game too late. As far as like how to be a second line player, be more like a playmaker. But I always played, I loved the gritty part of the game, and I'm undersized player, but I loved just hammering guys, just my mentality, like getting after it. So maybe he saw that and he liked it. Maybe I don't know, but yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, like he took a chance on us because he thought we had, great attitude about it. I'll share this too. I mean, I remember going to the Madison Capital camp and being on the bench. I remember turning, because the kid asked me where we were from, and I told him where he was from. He's like, "Why are you even here?" And I was like, and I remember to say the fact, I'm like, I don't know, why am I here? Because I didn't think I was gonna make the team either. And then, when my parents got the letter, because originally I made it, my twin brother didn't.
Oh, wow.
So when when we got the letter about it, it was still a weird, hard family decision. Then Charles had to go do some summer skates there before he got the chance to go play in the team. So he got in. But it was kind of like, we sat down as a family, we talked about it because it's a bigger commitment, obviously, than, it was like an hour 15 drive each way for me to do it. But again, I'm not sure why. I wish I could ask him. I always kick myself. I never went back and talked to him in person to ask him about that. But I think at the end of the day, he was just taking a chance on a kid that, at least I hope, seemed like I loved to be there all the time. Was always trying to be the hardest worker. Probably wreck drills left and right, but at least I was trying to do it to like the best of my ability when I was there. But yeah, I think he was just taking a chance on a kid that showed that he loved playing the game.
So, John, in a previous life, I was a high school principal in a rural area. And I've heard stories about kids and their dads even that were working on the farm, that sometimes the kids decided that they were going to be a 3-sport athlete. And the reason for that was then they didn't have to be mucking stalls and milking the cows and all that jazz.
No, I didn't have that option growing up, so... No, I played soccer in high school, and the football team wanted us to play too, but my mom wouldn't let us play football because she thought it was too dangerous, which always got the football coaches, they kind of laughed because they're like, well, they play hockey. Like, but my dad's from Quebec, so I think that's kind of where the hockey side of it comes in my family. Is he's from Canada and Canadian, so we all kind of got into hockey at a young age, and my older brother did really well with it, and then Charles and I did really well with it. Everyone else played it, but never took it anywhere necessarily. But yeah, again, like I grew up on a farm here, and during the summer we did construction, and we had cattle, we had beef cattle, so we took care of that. We had our own garden. So I think for me, hard work was instilled at a young age out of necessity, obviously. But I joke with my wife that I always joke that my upbringing was probably as close to Little House on the Prairie that you'll ever meet anyone with. I mean, we weren't terribly wealthy family or anything like that, but my parents did a ton to give us all opportunities, and I'm really grateful for that. Looking back on it, especially, and you don't know that when you're growing up, the sacrifices your parents make, but now looking back, I see it. But yeah, no, I grew up. Obviously, physical labor was very much part of my upbringing, but I never get a gym. Didn't even touch a weight. I don't think until I was 18 years old. I would always have been naturally strong from either baling hay or doing construction work. Chasing the cattle around. We didn't have heat, or we didn't have AC or heat growing up, so we had to go cut wood every winter and everything like that. So yeah, no. So I think I was fortunate where hard work was kind of instilled to me at a young age, and it wasn't something you were expecting anything out of. It was just like, you do this for your family. It's just expected of you. Yeah. And I think that mindset has helped me a lot in my professional life, I would say.
When you were playing juniors, obviously you were doing something right there because you went and played collegiately. Were colleges looking at you, or did you reach out to them?
Well, I had 5 different schools as far as option goes for Division III. I actually almost didn't go to college because I was thinking of just trying to go play pro afterwards, because my mom was a teacher, and she's the teacher in the background. So something my parents pushed for, but I did well in school, but I was not the most amazing student, I will say. I did the best to my ability. I will say that. Sometimes I might have been C. But a
good strong C.
C, that's right. So that was just the best of my ability necessary. So no, I ended up going to college because I was surrounded by people who I was training with at the time, and a couple of them were playing pro. And they had played Division I, and so they encouraged me to go down that path, because at the end of the day, in this sport, you could get a life-changing injury the very next day, and then what do you have to go back on? And obviously having an education gives you a lot of tools. At the end of the day, like college teaches you how to think analytically and critically. And that's the biggest tool I think you take, whether you use your degree or not. But it gives you at least, a degree does give you a little bit of a background as far as some options if something like that did happen, I suppose. So I was fortunate to have really good people to kind of guide me at the time, to kind of push me that direction. But yeah, no, we had different colleges that came and watched us during the season. I had different coaches reach out to us and have conversations with us. We had 5 or so different options, but like I said, before the end of the day, I decided to go where who was going to give me the most money. Framingham at the time, I was going there with 2 other teammates, and so it sounded like we could go and we were going to live together right away, which was fantastic, and then we were going to be able to play a lot right away because they had struggled immensely the year before. So it gave me a chance to really jump into college hockey right away, and I remember he actually started us. He started me and all my buddies, my brother, the very first game against Hobart College. We have a picture. I have a picture somewhere from that starting lineup. And I remember sitting there thinking like, and all these kids were 25 years old. A lot of them were Canadians that play at Hobart. I'm like, what am I doing? I'm really about to get it. But yeah, no, I was really fortunate to have a great 4 years of experience there before I pursued some pro hockey. Yeah. But at the end of the day, like we had different schools, but they offered the most money, so that's where we did it.
Any Wisconsin schools that you turned down?
I don't think there was Wisconsin school at the time. There was one that was kind of in the running, but they were primarily all in the New England area. That I think we were speaking to. And again, I'm trying to go back like 16 years ago, trying to remember. But I think at the time there was 5 stand out to me that I remember pretty directly, and there might have been one out in Wisconsin, but it might have been like not hard interest, soft interest at the time.
Okay.
Going to give a quick shout out to Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine has been committed to the healthcare needs of patients in western Wisconsin since 1954. The orthopedic surgeons and athletic trainers serve many area schools. Their success and reputation as an outstanding orthopedic clinic can be attributed to the teamwork of friendly, knowledgeable physicians and staff. And Mogi and I have both experienced Chippewa Valley Orthopedics, and they've gotten us back in the game each time.
Yep. Thanks, guys. Greatly appreciate it. So, John, you spent the start of your coaching career in the USPHL, the United States Premier Hockey League. I believe I'm pronouncing this correctly, with the Hampton Roads Whalers.
Yes.
Okay, so tell us about the USPHL league structures.
So the USPHL, it's a tier 3 equivalent of the NA3. It's just outside of USA Hockey. So like this past year, I coached in what is called the NCDC, which is the tier 2 level of the United States Premier Hockey League. So the United States Premier Hockey League has NCDC, which is tier 2, tuition free. Then it has USPHL Premier, USPHL Elite, which are both tier 3. And then they have 18, 16. I think they have a 15 now too. So my first 2 years, and that's why I had played juniors. So that's why I went up and started my coaching career. But I coached the first 2 years as assistant coach, with the lower team. And I ended up being, the head coach actually was a buddy of mine who I played juniors with my first year. His name is Brad Jones, who is still the general manager there and the president of the youth program. So great 2 years experience with him. And then I ended up coaching the next 2 years with Rod Taylor, who's pretty well known. He's in the East Coast Hockey League Hall of Fame.
Nice.
Had an amazing experience with him, and I learned a ton from him. We won a championship together and helped move a lot of kids on. So I had 2 great years of it there. In those 2 years, I also worked with the Norfolk Admirals as an assistant strength coach and a skills coach at the time.
And that's an ECHL.
That's the East. Yeah, that's the Norfolk Admirals is the East Coast league there. Actually, a good buddy of mine, Radislav Ilo, who was drafted by the Ducks. We played juniors my last year together. He ended up coming back there my final year and playing there. So that was pretty cool to see him again. And on opposite sides, he's still playing, obviously. And, I'm there. I'm like, hey, you should do this left. Let's do this stretch. So different roles for sure. But really cool there. And again, I had great 4 years experience there as an assistant coach. I think it helped me a ton, especially for me crafting who I am as a coach. And most of what I did there was a lot of skill development stuff. And I've kind of taken a lot of those lessons I've learned into my own coaching career as a head coach now. And I still I'm most prolific. I mean, I'm most well known for like the skill development stuff I do, I would say, as a coach. And that's my biggest passion and part of it. Obviously, when you become a head coach, you got to do a lot more of the video work now, and the recruiting work is all part of it. So video is a huge tool that we have to use with our athletes. But yeah, no, so that the USPHL, it's a outside USA Hockey equivalent of like the NA3, North American League. I would say the North American League, obviously, it's still by far the best tier 2 league, I would say, and this is just going off Division 1 commits per year. But yeah, no, so like a really good experience there out east. Again, I'm really fortunate to get an opportunity to get my coaching feet wet, I suppose, at that level. When I left the North American League after coaching there for 2 years, my wife is from Virginia Beach. That's why I met her my last 2 years coaching there. So we ended up going back at Hampton, and I was the head coach there at a GM when I went back for that 1 year to raise my daughter close to her family. So Hampton Roads has always been kind of like a second home for us. The only reason we went and played juniors there is because my brother was stationed there in the Navy at the time. So that's the reason we ended up out there. But I was really fortunate to have really good experience there playing. Made some really amazing friends. Then I was really fortunate to have like a really good base, get my coaching career started there as well.
Nice.
You've talked about the NAHL 3 and the NAHL where you've coached at both levels. When you're out scouting or recruiting, what attributes are you looking for in a player?
Yeah, I mean, that's when I get that question all the time. The biggest thing is like at this level, like for the most part, players kind of are what they are. You can't change them too dramatically. It's like I'm just trying to find the guys with the skills and ability that I feel like I can coach, right? And then like the biggest part of our job, I think, is just a character evaluation portion of it and evaluating attitude, because I think that carries kids way farther than natural ability. But again, like your skating ability, your vision, stick work, like these are all things that we have to kind of look for. So what are your habits of a player? Especially, I think 90% of my job is teaching kids habits away from the puck, not with the habits with the puck. For the most part, if you're going to play with us, we believe you have the skill set and ability to play with the puck and make plays. The biggest thing where I find kids as far as divide them, whether it's divide them from like that tier 2 level, from tier 3 or even from tier 2 to tier 1, like the USHL, it's kind of how they play away from the puck. That's the biggest divider, I would say. So yeah, for this level, I try to go out and find kids purely with the ability and skill sets. I think that we can help them be successful and have the tools that I can kind of keep molding to elevate their game. But they might just be missing like one part of that, one attribute that might be like how they play away from the puck. It might be like how to defend pucks. Maybe they're not confident with holding on to puck or creating plays. I would say goalies. I don't do a great job evaluating goalies. I have people I ask for that because I never played goalie.
Well, they're kind of nuts too, aren't they?
Yeah, well, I just tell them, like, I just expect you to stop the pucks or stop the shots you're supposed to stop and take a few extra that you weren't supposed to stop. That's all I look for. Like,
No
I like
pressure,
goalies that play
boys.
pucks, but like besides that, it's the most I can kind of evaluate goalies at this level. So I have a couple of different people that I use for that, for evaluating goaltenders. But yeah, I mean, when I go out, like I'm looking for different attributes that are going to help you fit within the way I teach the game, as well as like, do you have the skill sets and abilities where I can kind of help you elevate your game and teach you the next portion?
So with all those different levels, the USPHL goes all the way down to 15, all the way, up into the junior level.
Sure.
And then you've got the NA3, you've got the NAHL, you've got the USHL.
Yeah, you haven't gotten to Canada yet, too. It becomes even more complicated.
Well, yeah, I'm not going there. I'm staying south of the border. So obviously USHL, the vast majority of those kids have a D1 scholarship. You look at their line sheets and you see Minnesota next to the kid's name, Michigan, Wisconsin, whatever. What is a realistic expectation for a kid in the NA3 or in the NAHL? What is a realistic expectation for them to reach? Is it a D1 scholarship? Is it possible pro? Is it more like a D3 opportunity? Or
yeah,
what do you think?
Each level has its own niche, I would say, in the marketplace. Like for the players that come and play for us, our goal primary is to get the kids to college hockey. That's our ultimate goal. Whether it's directly through us to primary Division 3 is where we place our players at this level, or they'll get a chance to go play in the North American League, equivalent of a tier 2, and then they can pursue Division 1 at that point. Yeah. So the North American League, yeah, those kids are gunning for Division 1. That's where they're going to try to place their players. They still have kids placed in Division 3. USHL, for the most part, most of those kids are already kind of committed going into it. I always say to USHL, if you're playing the USHL, it's about playing pro hockey. It's about playing in the NHL at that point. It's not necessarily about playing Division One because you're probably going to end up as a Division One player. You already have that kind of in your back pocket. So you got to kind of try to work toward a pro opportunity. But for our level, at the Tier 3 level, like our goal is to get kids Division 3 hockey. And that was when my first 2 years as a coach, which was in the NA3. I mean, that's what we focused on. I think my first year we had 7 guys go to NA and we had 12 kids go on that year. And I think one went ACHA and everyone else went Division 3. The second year we had 13 kids move on. And that was always the goal, was to get kids to Division 3 because that's where we place players at this level. If they want to be Division 1 hockey players, they're going to have to play the North American League. So for our younger kids or kids that earn that opportunity, when guys come and play for me, we're going to try to push both unless they're aging out. So like 04, 05 birth years, we have 106 now. We're going to push them toward the North American League because that's going to give them the best opportunity to pursue Division 1, but we're still going to push Division 3 opportunities for them too. So at the end of the day, like hopefully after 1 year, they have both kind of on their radar. Because again, like if kids, my opinion is if you have a D3 opportunity at our level and you want to go early, go to school early if you want. At the end of the day, it's not my life. It's my job to kind of facilitate and hopefully you give you skills to pursue that. But if kids want to go to college early and they find the right fit, the right school, then they should go, in my opinion. I have a rule at this level that kids can't play more than 2 years for me. After 2 years, you should be either playing Tier 2 hockey or you should be playing college hockey. That's just the way I kind of look at it at the Tier 3 level because they're paying to play. You're paying tuition. At Tier 2, age out. You're pushing for the highest college opportunity there. You're not paying, play as long as you want at that point. Because your parents probably aren't stressing about it as much. But yeah, for us, like our guys, we're pushing toward Division 3 programs primarily. And I know like ACHA now has become way better hockey and some of these programs, especially down south, have done a tremendous job. So a lot more kids are going in that direction now. So that might be something that happens too. I just myself haven't done that a ton at this level, I would say. But it's something we'll probably look into too. It's at the end of the day, like that might give kids a better college experience, I suppose, than some of these Division 3. Division 3 schools for NCAA are small schools, where ACHA tend to be big schools. So depending on like what experience you want, if you want to be a big school experience where you want to go to like, go to Alabama, go to the big football game and stuff like that, like you're not going to get that at Division 3, right?
Yeah.
So they all have different places in the marketplace, and kids want to pursue pro hockey. Like when kids talk to me about it, that kind of becomes part of the conversation. So if I have a kid who's aging out with us and he's like, I want to pursue pro hockey possibly one day. So we might talk about some different options for Division 3 because there's schools I think that do a better job of it than others. So that does become part of the conversation. But first and foremost, they have to go and establish themselves at that level first before they can even get that opportunity. But there's different schools who I feel like do a better job of that. So we'll have that conversation as far as different schools we're trying to get them to at that point.
What if you really don't feel that kid can make it? How do you handle a conversation like that?
Well, you're just honest. At the end of the day, like you have to be honest with yourself. Like the same thing, we ask our players every day to be honest about their work. Like, are they being the best themselves every day? Because that's what we expect, right? It's the same thing with me. Like, I have to be honest with myself. Like, was I the best coach today? Or I'm sure I made mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes, but you have to be honest about your work. I'll tell kids if I see attributes in their game that I think can transition to that level. Like, I'll be honest with them. Really, it comes down to like, what do you want to do with your life? Is this something you want to pursue? If not, if you want to pursue it, I would try to help you toward that path. I've had kids who've told me too to like, they don't really look at playing pro. That's not something they're looking at doing. They just want to go to college and get a degree and go that direction. Then it's like, all right, well, at least we know that. Now, with that being said, I've had kids call me like when they're in college and say like, all right, it's something I want to kind of look into doing. Then it's like, all right, well, I can try to help you. I'll call a couple of different people necessarily. But you just have to be honest. If you think a kid, doesn't have that, that's not his path, and that's fine. At the end of the day, you're going to try to help them pursue their goals. It's going to be on them and their ability that's going to take them as far as they can. It was the same thing with me, I think. I don't think anyone ever thought I would get a sniff at playing pro hockey, especially coming out of Reedsburg. I don't know necessarily, like something I always wanted to do as a kid because you always dream of playing in the NHL and being part of that. But, as you get older, you're like, things become a little bit more realistic. I don't know. That's my path in life. But I was fortunate that I get a chance to pursue it. And I still had the drive to pursue it. So I got a sniff of it. But no, you just got to be honest with kids. And at the end of the day, like, they're going to take what you tell them, and they're either going to apply it, or they're going to be like, you're full of it. I'm going to prove you wrong. And hopefully sometimes that's what you want out of kids too.
Sure. Yep.
For our listeners, we've talked about Reedsburg, Wisconsin, and it's not a big city. We're talking 5,000-6,000 people.
Yeah. I mean, it's small. I couldn't tell you. I don't know what they are now. Maybe it's like 10 or so. But yeah, I think my graduating class was 111 kids, so it's pretty small community.
Yeah. So we're not talking about a large area, and you put forth the effort. You have a fabulous work ethic, and you set yourself goals for yourself, and you were able to attain them. So kids coming out of small communities, they still have that opportunity if they want to put the work into it.
Yeah. I mean, you've got to be willing to make sacrifices like anything. When kids, I tell players, like, we want guys that are investing their time with us. They're not spending their time with us. So at the end of the day, like, if you're going to pursue this route, you're going to make sacrifices. I mean, I went out east to play juniors. I played college out east, and I missed a lot of things at home, whether it was, unfortunately, people passing away that I'd grown up with, close neighbors and whatnot. So, like, you make sacrifices to pursue a dream, like anything. But yeah, I think there's always a means towards success. It's just going to come down to, like, what are you willing to sacrifice, and how much work are you willing to put in toward that? Sometimes you get there, and sometimes you fall short. But hopefully along the way, you learn some really good life lessons, and you gain some opportunities where even if you fall short, like, you have an advantage over someone else, I suppose, whether it's in the business world or whatever you pursue in life.
So I'm looking at your coaching career. You've spent some time with Tier 3 teams. You've spent time with Tier 2 teams. You're back here with Tier 3 in Toma. What do you want for John Vaillancourt when it's all said and done and you look back? Where do you want to? What level do you want to attain?
I've always wanted to coach college hockey. And even this year, like, I thought about kind of pursuing it, especially with NCAA adding a coach now. There were some opportunities to kind of pursue that. I had a possible opportunity to go coach pro in Europe. At the end of the day, right now, I think this is the best fit for me and my family, and I do feel like I can make a pretty big impact for kids at this age. When we're all gone eventually, like, at the end of the day, like, I don't think anyone's gonna build a plaque or a statue of you, but, like, it's how you make people feel. That's what people remember you by. So for me, being here at this level, my job is to try to help kids achieve their dreams to the best of my ability. Hopefully teach them what it takes as far as, like, a pro mentality to be an excellent college hockey player, a pro player possibly one day, but also try to help them just be really good people. Again, like, every player is coached differently. You coach based upon the personality you have. I joke with my wife that I should have went to college for, like, child psychology, because that's nothing more than my job. I didn't do that. I probably should have if I had known I would do this. But yeah. But at the end of the day, like, it's I'm trying to help kids achieve whatever their dreams are, and the relationships you build here. And I have some of the players now, especially that I've coached when I first got into coaching, are getting into pro hockey. So it's amazing kind of relationships that you hold with some of these kids for sure. But eventually, I would like to coach, I think, at the collegiate level. I really like college hockey because I think you're still doing a lot of teaching. Where I think if you're coaching pro hockey, you're not doing nearly as much teaching. You're bringing guys in who can play your system. You're managing personalities, especially at the East Coast level, because you go through a lot of guys with affiliate players. I really like the college aspect where you have kids for 4 years. You can kind of mold them still as young men. And you do a lot more teaching, in my opinion. And that's the part that I really enjoy this job, is the teaching portion of it, whether it's teaching the hockey portion of it primarily, or just kind of trying to teach them, like, little bit of life lessons to help them be successful. So eventually that's what I would like. I do want to I'm probably going to hold off a little bit till my kids get older, because that was my main focus was coming here, was giving my kids a home and being close to their grandparents, so that they can kind of establish roots first and then not be, coaching is a lot like playing pro hockey, where, like, you're constantly moving around sometimes for opportunities. But once you start having kids, I'm sure as you both know, like your life changes. I mean, my life changed dramatically when I married my wife because now you're making family decisions. I've been really fortunate. She's been really patient and very supportive of me. But with kids now, like it was really important for me to kind of let them have a home and like not be moving them around constantly, especially when they start getting to school. Now I don't want that for them. And I've seen that with other people, and I just don't want that necessarily right now. So I think right now I just want to make this the best program possible, do the most good I can for the community, grow the game of hockey. And then I think once my kids get a little bit older, I'm probably going to pursue maybe pushing toward collegiate hockey again. But right now, that's just more important to me is my family situation and my kids having a home and a good, solid base.
Yeah, as it should be. All right, giving another shout out to our sponsor, our buddy Pat Robecki at Riverside Bike and Skate, Eau Claire's hockey headquarters, which is the oldest hockey store in the state of Wisconsin. Buy hockey gear from the people that play and know the game, and don't forget about their bicycle sales and service, as well as your paddle sports center for kayaks and canoes.
We started talking about your new position before we turned on the mics. And for our listeners, where is your team going to be playing this year? What's the name of the rink? Can they get tickets? Give us some information about the Woodsmen.
Yeah, no. So we'll be playing out at Toma Ice Center. It's a relatively new rink, so we're really excited about that. Our ownership just put like $30,000 of lights in there for the light show, so it's going to be great. I mean, we're going to try to run the program the same as like a Tier 2 North American League program. So the kids will get that experience within. The fans will get that experience too. For anyone who's looking to get tickets, you can just Google Woodsman Hockey. Our website is live now. You can go on there. You can buy a season ticket pass. There's a VIP area as well. I think it's unlimited food and drink. So you can buy those passes, and those are all live right now on our website. If you want to go through the na3.com website, you go through there, and then they have a link as well to our website.
So we talked a little bit even before JC got here about, what you've been up to. It's been a whirlwind for you getting up here.
Been busy.
Getting the rink ready to go, getting your house ready to go. But you talked about having to be pretty skilled with your hands, about putting together the locker room and the office area and stuff like that. Tell us a little bit about what you've been up to since you were named head coach here with the Woodsmen.
Yeah, well, obviously, I think I took the job over 2 weeks before our draft, so it was kind of figuring out what our asset situation was. We had to make some moves here, so we acquired some draft picks, and we didn't have any kids tendered at the time. And tendering is just signing a player's rights for the league, so we had to go about doing that. So it was pretty busy right away. We got into building our group here, and I think we've done a really nice job there this summer so far. I'm really excited about the group of kids we have coming in. But yeah, no, I mean, so I didn't want to move out here right away because at the time we were still waiting for my son to be born. So, we waited for him to be born, and then basically a month after he was born, we made the move out to Wisconsin. So it's been a transition, obviously moving a newborn and a 2-year-old and getting a new home and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, we've been really busy, and the locker room is now coming together. It should be done this week. Fortunately, I had my dad and myself build all the shelving and the stalls for our guys. So it looks pretty good, I think. So that's all coming together here. That should be done this week here for the guys when they get here next Sunday. So they'll be able to move in. But yeah, it's just a lot. I mean, you're establishing a new program, whether it's the business model, recruiting a whole team, finding billet families. And, Ryan Egan, who's one of the owners, and Adam Kerr have been fantastic work through, and they've been doing a ton of the legwork as well. Donna Armstrong is our billet coordinator, and she's done a really great job. We have Oak Moser, who's my assistant coach. He was my assistant when I was coaching out here my first 2 years in NA3, so someone I've already had success with. Nice. We know we work well together, and he's local to Tomo, so it was a no-brainer to kind of get him involved in the program. And he was in the other day helping me paint the room too. So we've had tremendous people helping bring this program to life, I would say. And there's been a lot of excitement in the community for junior hockey to be back there since the Cooley Region Chill left, which is, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago, the NA team got traded away. So there's been, I think, a little bit of a void there as far as junior hockey goes. And I think the community is excited about it. Like, we've got more billet families than I've ever had in any program I've been part of. And I think that shows like the excitement to be part of it. So we're excited, but yeah, I'll be really excited here September 15th, our first home game. It'll be nice to kind of get the puck dropped here and get going. I know next week we got our training camp here, so we'll get our guys in here. We'll do our 28th. We'll do our first team practice. We'll do our on ice testing, some stuff off the ice, and then we head up to St. Mary's University next day. We'll do 2 practices there. We'll do a tour. The kids will get to do a Q&A with Ryan Egan, which I think is a great resource for them to have a college coach actually talk to them. We go up to Chippewa on the 30th to go play them and some preseason action, which would be really exciting. And then we come back for our inter-squad scrimmage games those next 2 days, and those will open to the fans. So for our fans, they get to come and see our guys for the first time here. And the nice thing, I think, especially at the tier 3 level, but junior hockey in general, is like it's really nice for local fans because they get to do a lot more interaction with players than like at the pro level or college level. So for our local fans, I know there's some different kid groups that are going to be coming out for those scrimmages. It gives them a great chance to kind of bump shoulders with our guys, and hopefully at the end of the day, like our players are supposed to be mentors for a lot of these young athletes. So it's great for them to be able to have that one-on-one conversation and interaction because no different than, when I was playing juniors way back, like you work with all these young kids, and at the time, you're just trying to put on a good smile. You're not necessarily want to be there, but you're trying to put on a good face and represent the program the best way possible and help little kids out. But sometimes these kids go on and there's those small life moments. I talked about like it all matters, like people remember about how you made them feel. It's the same thing with like these young athletes, like especially with young kids. When you work with really little kids, like how you make them feel can have an amazing effect on their trajectory of their life or whatever they want to pursue. So it's really important for me that our guys, since we're going to have the opportunity to do that within our community, that we have really positive outcomes, and they're really positive with these young kids, especially.
One of the things we talked about before we turned on the microphones was the number of stalls that you have in your locker room, and you have a significant number of stalls that you won't be using throughout the year as a permanent spot for kids, but you leave those spots for kids who are with you before their season starts, after their season starts, for kids who might be come and skate with you so you get a look at them. And that told me a lot about you and how you want to make that kid feel. I mean, you're not going to pull him in as an outsider and have him dress in the bathroom. You're not going to have him dress out in the hallway. You're going to have him right there with the boys and feeling a part of it right off the bat. So that tells me a lot about you as a coach.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like, especially for these kids who are doing pre and post with us, like some of them, might be tier 3 hockey players, but some of them want to play tier 2. And, I think a couple we have right now might end up there instead of at the tier 3 level. So you want to give them, obviously for them, they're trying to get an idea of, they're coming primarily to do the development portion with us. They want to develop and get ready for high school season and have a great season. But for me, like, it's really important for those guys to feel like they're part of the group. They're not an outside entity. We want them to understand what's expected at this level, have a great experience with us because it helps them toward being the best of themselves every day. Because my expectations for them is they have to be the best of themselves every day too. It's not like I coach them different than anyone else. It doesn't matter. If they're not doing something to the best of their ability, they're probably going to get it too. So, but again, like, I think if we want those guys to be involved with our program, we want them to feel like they're part of that family. Same thing when we bring guys in during the season. Like, we'll bring guys in during the season because we want them to kind of see what their experience would be here if they want to play with us, whether we tender them or if they want to sign with us in the future. So there's no better way for a kid to decide if that's a place they would want to be than to actually be within the room, within the team, and get that experience. I think that's the best way for us to kind of share our program with those kids. And it's also a great way for them to kind of make a decision like, yeah, this is a place I can see myself being part of.
Nice.
You're pretty much starting from scratch as far as a roster is concerned. Did you have guys going out looking at players for you as the players were showing interest in your team? Did you do all the scouting? And where are your recruits from?
I would say like 90% of it's on me. As far as the recruiting portion that goes, like once, again, we brought in some people to scout for us. Jamie Adler, for example, is our scout in Minnesota, and he's done a fantastic job for us. Not only a really good hockey mind, and talk about a person with a great background and a great story to kind of use with our players. Obviously he served in the military and his own experience, I loved like when I had a chance to talk to him and just to hear about his past and his story. It was kind of a no-brainer. That's someone I want to be part of the program. I mean, maybe for me, I have a soft spot because I have 3 brothers in the military and I think 2 were in Iraq. So like I have a little bit more of a, I guess, different opinion for people with that background. I value maybe a little bit more than others, I suppose. But he's done a great job helping me kind of, especially in Minnesota, because I was based out east. So, the primary of my recruiting has always been like Minnesota high school kids, some Wisconsin. Primary, I've always recruited out AAA hockey, whether it's a tier 1 high performance. There's different leagues in Canada I look at for players. The New England Prep League is a no-brainer for some. It's called the East, the Beast League. So all those kind of factor in. Like relatively, I'll probably look at around 500 kids during the summer and at least have these conversations. Then you narrow it down to like 25, and we're still in the process. There's still kids that we're talking to right now because they're either at North American League training camps starting up here, so they're waiting to see if they're going to stick or not. There's some kids up in Canada we're still talking to. I mean, we have 1 import coming in right now, but there's 3 others. We're kind of waiting to see what happens. So we're not done by any means. You never stop recruiting because once we get our team kind of established here, now you go through the pro process of, I like to start in November of building your team for the future. But now we have a network of scouts that we've brought on to our program that are helping us through that whole process. Jamie Adler is probably the biggest one I would say that we've used. Nick Farley has come on board. Zach Warson, who's based in Michigan. I just actually had a player who never played for me, but I tendered him. Then I went to North America League, who's going to be coming on board based in Michigan. I've got a kid who played for me in Illinois, who's going to be coming on board as one of our scouts. Another person in Colorado who's going to be coming on board. So we're going to be bringing in some people I feel like we can trust and have good minds for the game. The end of the day, our scouts' job is to identify talent, usually make the first connection with the family, and then it goes on me or one of my coaches to go out and actually watch them play in person or bring them into a program to skate with us to make the final decision. But this summer, I would say 90% of it has been primary on me. We did have players from the New Ulm team who transferred with the ownership to this club. So we had to make a decision on which guys we wanted to keep and which guys we didn't want to keep. So we've kept some of those guys from last year. And I think they're all doing really well with us. But yeah, it's primarily based on me. So it's a lot of traveling during the summer.
Not bored, is he? Not bored.
No. So obviously you had a whirlwind summer. Will you have a chance to relax at all before your season starts?
No. That might be this week, but we're building the locker room. So, I was hoping that we get a little downtime here, but it just, with us getting stuff ready here, we're just not going to have a lot of downtime as far as like relaxing and whatnot. But that's okay. I mean, again, I try to go on Sundays. I try to go see my folks on the farm, and we'll do something with our family or whatnot. We won't have much downtime. Like this week would be pretty packed, getting things ready for the kids. Then Sunday they all get here into town, and then we go right into it. So it's been a really, really busy summer for us. Not really a lot of downtime. I'm sure at the end of the day I would like a little bit more of it, but it's fine. It keeps me young.
I don't see many gray hairs there.
They're coming. Don't worry.
Take a look at them after the year's over, JC.
I think you're right.
I think each kid gives me more gray hairs and 10 more pounds. So I can stop having kids here because it's not helping me.
All right. Going into this season, have you set expectations for yourself and or what you expect out of the team as a first year coming into the league?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, we have high expectations for ourselves as a program, and I always have high expectations for myself, and that's might be my worst enemy because I expect more from myself than maybe I might have the means to accomplish sometimes. But I mean, first and foremost, we want to establish ourselves in the league. I think at the tier 3 level, the most successful programs are the programs that move the most players on. We want to try to be a program that's having kids for a year and then we're pushing them on. I think that's how we gauge our success as a program. So for the kids who are coming here or aging out, we want to find them good homes at the college level. And that process has started like a month ago. We'll probably have some schools come out during our training camp to take a look at some of our older kids so we can try to get that ball rolling early on here. And then for these other kids, we're going to be pushing toward tier 2 hockey. But at the end of the day, it's not my job for athletes to be successful. It's my job to give them the resources and the opportunity for success. And then it's whatever they earn, whatever they put into it is they earn. So I'm very honest with our players. Like, we have a Zoom meeting again. It's going to be the third or fourth movie we've done this summer with our group. This Thursday, and we're going to go over our team playbook. So when they come here for training camp, they're going to know exactly what's going to be expected of them. They're going to know already they already know the testing they'll be doing on the ice. They know their testing they're going to do off the ice. They already have their training camp package. They know what their whole week looks like. So I think we've established already our expectations for them as far as like what we expect from them every day, whether it's a program or us as a staff. But I think as a program, we want to establish ourselves. We want to establish ourselves as one of the top programs. I mean, I always felt when I came to lacrosse and took over that program that we established that program as a top program in that division and a program that was going to force everyone else to elevate their recruiting and play to challenge us. So I would like to do the same here. The NAHL, I think it's by far more competitive than when I was coaching it 6 years ago. I think it's a much better league, and you can see that from not only the college commitments, but the amount of kids who have moved on to North American League now. And I think it was 5 or 6 kids last year that committed Division I who played in the NAHL previously.
Nice.
Actually, one played for me in Minnesota because we sent him to NAHL and he committed Division I. So I think for us, like, there's high expectations of the program to do well, to be competitive, to give our fans a great experience. But ultimately, like, we want to establish ourselves as a top program and a program that's moving guys on, whether that's during the season to Tier 2 hockey or to collegiate hockey.
John, it's evident you've got the passion for the coaching position, and your knowledge of the game is top notch. And we wish you the best of luck, and thank you very much for being our guest.
No, thank you for having me. This has been a lot of fun.
Ladies and gentlemen, please don't forget to say hi to our sponsors when you stop in. Tell them the breakout session sent you. Do us a favor on your social media platforms. If you'd leave us a rating, a comment, even if it's something that you think we need to improve on, we're always willing to listen. Mogi?
Hey, a big thank you to our guest, John Vaillancourt. Appreciate having you here, John, as well as our audience. And please remember to stop in and say hi to our sponsors, Riverside Bike and Skate and Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. And we ask that you follow us on your favorite social media platforms as well as YouTube. And remember, folks, until the next time, keep your head on a swivel and stay on your inside edges.